Hi there, beautiful souls. Welcome and thank you for watching. Here we go again, me and my beautiful friend with an Q&A for you. Hopefully we have some questions and themes that are of interest for you. So here we go.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Very nice to be here. I'm very glad, as usual, to talk with you, to spend time with you, to know more of your knowledge. It's an honor for me. So thank you so much.
For me as well.
Okay, so let's start with the questions. So, what does it mean that we have parallel lives, according to your perspective?
Ooh, how to answer that? Well, I started maybe like many of all the other people as well with thinking in linear time. I'm in the present, the future is coming, and the past was. Well, as there does not exist any past, everything is parallel right here and now, all at once, in the same moment, but we just can't perceive it. And if we could, I think we would go crazy right in this minute because it's just too much. We are three-dimensional. We can't even understand the fourth dimension. That's difficult for us. We can only understand the dimensions below us, the second and the first. And well, in the higher dimensions, it is said all is one. There is no time. Time is illusion. All your past lives and your future lives are happening right here and now. And I had several clients in my QHHT hypnosis sessions. One was really remarkable because I couldn't believe it, the first one. He was in a future incarnation. So past life incarnations, I was already used to, but then I had this guy telling me I'm sitting in a spaceship and I'm doing this and that, and I thought, I can't believe it, and I allowed him to talk and I asked, explain more and tell me more and things without guiding and putting my things up or my prejudice or thought forms upon him. So it makes sense to me what spirit world or my guides tell me. But for my human brain, it's really hard to grasp that everything is all at once, right here and now. That's why so many old Hindu teachers and masters put the emphasis on here and now, live in the now, because that's the only moment of change and action we have.
So, if everything is happening at the same time, I wonder, do they affect each other? For example, there are pivotal moments in life with strong emotions, like, for example, in cases of trauma or deaths of family members, something really important that could happen.
Of course, all is connected with all. So we are affecting the other us that are living parallel lives as versions of us. Doesn't matter whether it seems to us to be in the past, maybe living with Jesus, or being in the medieval, or being on a spaceship in future, they're all connected. And the points are all coming together with us here and now, getting conscious about that so that we can even go and affect another us or another I of me in a future life or in a past life, maybe in the most horrible moment when this me in medieval times is burnt as a witch on the stake. I can come in with my consciousness from here and I don't even have to notice it, just thinking about something and giving some comfort to that other me that's right about dying on the stake. You don't know. And vice versa as well. Sometimes I get things I don't know where they're coming from. I have no reason to be sad. Everything is fine and wonderful. I'm sitting on my couch, and suddenly I have a wave of emotions, and I'm sure they are energetically coming from another lifetime. So I'm suddenly sad or whatever, And it's still very hard for me to try to sort that out because with other people, I can at least sort out which is my emotion and which is their emotion. And it is like that. I'm sure we affect all the other I's, or yous, or me's, or us that are living parallel lives right now, and we are also affected by them. There is a very interesting man. He never shows his face, and I can understand why. He's called Gene Decode. He was a military, and he was in, I think, U-boat, so under the water, serving as a Navy guy. And he has memories that he was kind of taken out of an Earth that exploded and was put here. And he's telling so many interesting things. He has a channel, and some people interview him. This guy has so much knowledge. And when I listen to him, and he's also into martial arts, that's kind of the way of many men. But behind martial arts, there is a whole philosophy of Taoism, the knowledge of Lao Tse, and all these wise ancient Chinese people. So there is a very interesting connection, and he knows a bit more, and he's talking about memories from his parallel lives. And so that to me, when I stumbled, or my guides made me stumble upon this man, which I could not have found just by myself, because I didn't even have the idea. And it just came to me, and I clicked on it, and I watched and listened, and I thought, wow, that's confirming the thing I'm just right now trying to process and thinking about.
Mhm.
Is
Well,
that helpful? I hope it's an answer.
yes, indeed. Indeed, it feels very interesting to know that sometimes when we feel we have some type of emotions at a certain time that don't really relate to the our current life, it might come from somewhere else, and it might make sense if we understand how parallel lives, how everything is connected, and
Yeah.
we are now, but we are at the same time doing many things.
And I even thought, well, there's this saying from the vernacular, you cannot change the past, you can only change the future. So better focus on the future. What will you do tomorrow, or what can you do today? And then I found out via astral traveling, I can go to my past and have an influence there. I can talk and change things there because it's all right here and now. And the consciousness having the effect, being around me, I'm in the field of the higher consciousness, my soul or my higher self, that can go anywhere and do anything and have an influence and change the past, or even go and change the future. My guides told me that we are already time traveling, but we just don't know it, and we don't notice it because we're like in the film, we're just focused on this one frame here and now. Am I sitting on my couch talking with you, and I don't know what my other parts are doing? I have no clue, but I know now that there are other parts doing other things.
Hmm. Right. Wow. It's incredible.
It
Uh,
is. Well, and the thing about dying I learned, and that was also because my husband wanted it like that, and only afterwards I researched. he said, I don't want you to have to go to the cemetery and care for my grave and things like that and have all this extra work. I want to be cremated and buried anonymously. So, of course, I fulfilled his wish. And then I remembered that in India, it's normal to burn the dead because maybe of the climate, you don't have the bodies lying around there and rotting and things like that, and bacteria and whatever. So, well, that's the practical side. The other side, which I found out in the Rosicrucian tradition, also dealing with a lot of the knowledge of Rudolf Steiner from anthroposophy, is that we have these etheric bodies that are kind of divided in the lower self, which is more the earthly bound subtle matter, and we have the higher self. So if you entomb a body in the earth, the lower self has to stay with that body as long as it's deteriorating. That's why some sensitive people walking over a cemetery, they see kind of ghosts wavering around. And I had a client who went with her little daughter, 5 years or so, across a cemetery, and the girl told her afterwards, Mommy, please don't ever walk with me that path. And the mother asked, Why? And she said, Oh, it's so horrible. I see all these figures wavering around and they are looking for their bodies. So that's the earthbound part that's still kind of, not really alive, not really dead, and has to wait until um, the body is really gone. And just remember, we're digging out in archaeology bones of people from 6,000 years ago. The bones are the last to go. They really stay very long. So if you burn the whole body, then you make it much easier for the higher self to be free and go directly into the light because it does not have the burden of the lower material parts of the subtle bodies that want to stick to earth and cannot let go and have to wait until the whole thing is deteriorated. So I think that also made a great difference. And I had the kind of lucky or unlucky experience with a client just recently where she started with her husband being in care and was thinking about, well, that's so expensive and I have a lot of work to do at home and he wants to get out and always begs me, please take me home. Of course, that's his agenda, understandable. But for her, when he's at home, she could not do anything of the work that was in the house and the garden. And I had the feeling, I told her, listen, I don't like to say that, but my feeling is he's going soon. So for you, you have to care now for yourself. Of course, he does not want to stay there, but for you, it would be better to care for yourself, to get the work done in the house and leave him 1 more week in the care. And then it really happened that he died. And I told her the trick with the rose oil, and she applied it. And I also told her because she asked for it. I did not kind of shove it into her mind. She asked for it. What can I do? What is of best help for him? And I told her about cremation, and she did that as well. And then 2 days after that had happened, that he excarnated, she was, of course, calling me and she was in tears because she missed him. That's the human perspective. And I saw him standing behind her shoulder, and he was all light.
Mhm.
So I told her, well, we can do one thing now. We use my meditation. I lead you and guide you into your inner heart space where the soul is connected with the human condition, the human experience via the heart. And we did that. And I said, when you're entering your sacred soul space, you can ask to meet him there. And she told me, well, I entered this room full of white light, and he was already standing there, his arms wide open to embrace me. And of course, they had their hug and their embrace, and she was crying. But then it turned into tears of happiness because the human part was thinking, now he's gone, I can never touch him again. That's because we only know the body connection. But then she had in her own heart, soul space, the subtle connection that he's always there. He is not gone. His soul was awaiting her in her own sacred heart and soul space. And the funny turning out of that experience was when she prepared herself to leave that space again and come back from the guided meditation, he gave her a golden key. And she came back and asked me, well, what's that key about? The golden key. I don't know what to do with that. And I thought, wow, my God, in every fairy tale and spiritual tradition, that's the key to the heavens. So there's your connection to him, which is unbreakable. You can always go back in your heart and meet him there. What else can you want? To meet the person again that you love. And of course, you miss him here, but he's not gone. He's still there. And you met him 2 days after he left his body. And that helped her to deal much more easy with the whole thing, which in our tradition and our society is you have to dress all in black, and then you go to the cemetery and you look into this hole in the earth and you look on the tomb or whatever, on the box, and you think, never will I see you again. Never can I meet you again and embrace you. It's wrong. That's only the human part thinking that, but there is another part that knows we're never alone. They don't leave us. And the great three questions for humankind and every single human as well is, where do I come from? Who am I? And where do I go to? Or where do we come from? Who are we? And where are we going to? And that's questions of the soul. You existed before you took this body vessel, this form, this experience as Carmen or as Gabrielle or whatever, You were there before. You are here right now. Make the best of it. And you will be there even if this body is gone like an old jacket, You just leave the jacket here at the wardrobe and go on to the next world. And only because we are so narrow-minded and don't think or believe or even assume possible that there are other worlds, and it's only a thin veil that's kind of separating us, and with this high energies coming in right in front of the equinox and the amping up of frequency and energy in the whole solar system, the veil is getting thinner. And people perceive more, they get more psychic, they get their psychic skills online, And some go crazy and think, well, I'm hearing voices. Yes, because our medicine and psychiatry only tells us if you hear voices, you are crazy. They don't know anything about other realms and things like that. That's why they negate it. But we will all go there and we will unite with all the ones we miss so dearly in the body, but they're still around us. You can talk with them. When I went to the cemetery of my parents who did not wish to be cremated, I saw people standing in front of graves and I saw that they were murmuring. So their lips were moving. They were standing in front of the grave of a loved one and were talking to him. You can do that in your living room. They're there. They're always with you. They hear you if you talk to them. They're not really gone. Only we are made believe that they are gone.
Yeah. Oh, well, you actually answered my next question, which was,
Oh, that's not me, that's them doing it. I don't know how I digress and where I go to. And sometimes I think, wow, I'm not on track. And then you tell me, well, that's already the next question. So they are doing that.
yes. So that is that is pretty clear. I'm just wondering about a couple of things. How long does the soul stick to the body? You said that in cases of burial, they stay around for a certain period of time.
You know what? There is a very weird memory I I have, and it came back to me when I was in India on my quest. I was once lying in bed there in a small bungalow on on the beach in Goa, and I heard some music. It was late in the night, and I suddenly found myself lying like this, like a mummy, and I could not move a finger. I was kind of frozen or petrified, and I was lying there and I could only move my eyes. And I knew left of me there are four or five vases with my inner organs. I'm embalmed, I'm a mummy, things like that. And I thought, am I going crazy here in India? Where do these thoughts come from? And I'm thinking since then about this whole theme of the mummies, because ancient cultures used to kind of prepare the body the best they could by embalming, as if they were thinking, like that's a thought in churches as well. Well, the resurrection of the Bible, the soul comes back and takes the rotten body. Do you really think that? That's that's so crazy to me. It does not make any sense. By embalming and keeping the remains of a person as a mummy for thousands and thousands of years, you're kind of incarcerating, you're prisoning parts of the soul, and they can't go on because I could not move. Suddenly, somehow, maybe I fell asleep, and next morning the thing was gone and I could move again. But, the experience was I'm lying there for thousands of years and I cannot go. I have to stick with the remains of the body. And that was a horrible feeling. I think cremating really is a good idea and the best thing you can do for the other one to be free and leave kind of this material world the best and most easy way.
Mhm. And after that, what should we do with the ashes? Because I heard it's not good to keep them at home, for example. You can keep it in the cemetery, or you can just throw them wherever the
It
person
depends.
wanted.
I think that depends on the person. I know people who still have the ashes of their loved ones at home, and they are fine with that. They talk every day to them via the urn that's helping them, and there is a good relationship and no problem. If you come with the thought, ooh, keeping the ashes of my father with whom I always had trouble or problems, no, I wouldn't like that. Yeah, of course, then you're putting negative energy into the whole connection, and then it surely would not be good for you to keep that in your home. If the deceased one gave his will saying, I want to be put into the sea or into an anonymous part of the cemetery as burned ash, or um, just put me out in your garden or whatever, or I love this place in Italy, then maybe straw my ash out there in Italy in my favorite holiday place. Then do what he or she wanted and do what feels good. I mean, to fulfill the wish of a deceased one, this for me is first law, and my own wishes are second law and secondary. So I wanted to fulfill what my husband wished for, and it turned out it was the best thing. I don't have to go to the cemetery even as an old woman and kneel down and care for the grave and things like that. So he was thinking so much beyond of himself about me in the future. That really humbles me still today.
Mhm.
And it's so wonderful. It turned out well and beautiful for me. I have no problem with that because I can feel him. He's now my spirit guide, and I don't need a gravestone or an urn or a place to go there. He's in my heart.
But in some cases, there are some people who don't really express their wish. So the family members have to decide, and based also sometimes on economic reasons, they have to
Yes.
decide. So that's why I was just thinking about what is best to do, depending on.
Yes, I can understand that. And if you don't have the mindset, then you will do whatever. That's what happened to me in one of the weird experiences where I was asked to connect with I had this 14-year-old boy. His father came as a client, had the third transplant of kidneys, and the boy wasn't well at all. After after some time, always problems occurred, and luckily the homeopathic physicist, the doctor, the father went to with his boy to help with medication or whatever. He was sitting in my mediumship circle. And then he said, maybe you can have a look upon that from another point of view. Can I send you this father and the boy? And I said, yes, of course. Let's see what will come out. And I didn't even meet them. We only talked on the phone. And the funny thing that happened to me, I did not know that. That was a whole new experience. I tried to connect with the kind of microcosmic field of the sun after I had got the allowance of the son, only because the father came and said, can you have a look? I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I need the allowance of your son. Talk to him in simple words. Tell him, well, she's a medium. She will have a different look upon your disease with the kidneys and all the problems. Are you okay with that? And the boy said, yes. And then I felt, okay, free will. Now I can go. And I connected with the microcosmic field or system of the boy, my way, and suddenly appeared a figure like, like a gnome or something like that, 60 centimeters with this red pointy head and all dressed in green. And I was startled. I looked at him with my inner eye and I asked, who are you? Why are you appearing? And he said, I am the body elemental being. I care for the body of this boy. I didn't know that. Later on, I found out other people working with the body elemental being, and I found out that even Rudolf Steiner wrote about that. So I asked the being, well, what's wrong with the kidneys? And the being just showed me in gestures what was wrong. He was kind of as if he's working hard and running and huffing and puffing, and then he, boom, just fell back to the ground, showing me it's too much work. I can't succeed. And I said, well, what will help? How can we help? Is there a way to help? And then this little being just pointed his finger to another direction. And I kind of, with my inner eye, followed his arm and his finger, and boom, there I was in the beyond. And I saw an older woman walking around in circles. She didn't even look up. And she had her hand where the kidneys are, and she was furious. And she was kind of talking all the time, running in circles. Nobody asked me. I did not give my consent. And I thought, wow, so she didn't give her consent. And she's angry about heaven taking out her kidneys. So all that anger, and this is flowing now because there's still a connection to the transplanted organ in the boy. All that is flowing into the kidneys. That's why he has so many problems. And they can't get it with medication, the reaction that the body wants to how's it called, to reject this strange or foreign organ from another person. And I thought by myself, I thought you have to consent to give your organs for transplant. And then my spirit guides kicked in and told me, well, if she did not leave any note about that, then her family does what they thought the best.
Hmm.
And that was not what she wanted. And they were thinking, well, okay, sorry that mom or whoever it was or auntie died. Maybe we can help another one by giving the organs and giving the allowance. That's kind of a humanistic, seemingly positive thought. But she, on the other side of the veil, the owner of the organs, so to speak, she had a problem with that. And I looked at her and I thought, well, but in your etheric body, you still have your kidneys. It's just the material body, and you're no longer in that. So why are you doing all this kind of theater running around in circles? And I greeted her with the namaste and I told her, that does not make any difference. And can't you be happy with that this little boy can live now with your kidneys? Otherwise, he would have to die. And you are complete. Nothing is missing in your subtle bodies. You can go right now into heaven, into the light, if you like. Just look around. Maybe there's your guardian angel or a guide. Just ask them to bring you to heaven. And then this woman stopped circling, looked at me, first time she ever looked up, stood still, looked at me, and I saw how the thoughts were kind of digested in her. And then suddenly, boom, she went off like a rocket. And from then on, all the problems with the kidneys in the little boy stopped because she had cut kind of this imagined wrong connection
The attachment.
and yeah, the attachment, and no longer her disturbing energies were flowing into the kidneys. And for her, it was a liberation as well to understand, wow, I'm complete. Even if they took out the kidneys from my material body, no problem. I'm always complete on the other side. There's nothing missing. It's just the wrong thoughts that are hindering so often. And I loved it that she went off like a rocket to the sky, to the heaven. And I thought, wow, that's great. And I learned so much. And I had no idea when I started with that. I had no idea where I would land with this boy and his father and the kidneys and the whole story. So to me, it was a great, great learning experience. And
Beautiful.
again,
Mm.
very humbling, that just a false thought can close the doors to heaven because you think it. No one else is doing it. It's again this spiritual saying, you create your reality
Mhm.
by your thought forms, and the energy driving the thought forms are your emotions. And if you believe in something false, you might even block your own entrance to heaven. How sad is that?
Mm.
Only because of a false thought or belief.
That's such a beautiful story. I mean, I love it. And I'm very curious now that you mention it about that elemental being linked to the boy's kidneys. What
He
is that
wasn't
about?
his
What is
kidneys only. He was an elemental being showing up, and he told me he's caring for the whole material body with all the organs in there, even the foreign ones from the donor, that woman that I met on the other side of the veil. And funnily enough, I found a book from I think it was a Canadian woman called Tennis Halliwell, and she was a redhead. with Irish roots. And her book was about spending a summer following her roots and having rented a cottage in Ireland and just wanting to make holiday there. And the cottage she rented was also home of some elemental beings. She met kind of gnomes there, and she could see them, and they talked to her, and they taught her about the body elemental being. And after she came home and wrote the book about, I think it's called Elven Summer or something like that, she started working with the body elemental being and helped people heal because she could see this being and could get information about what was wrong in the body or with an organ or with whatever. And she could tell people who were in search for healing what this body elemental being was telling her what they should do to heal. Isn't that wonderful? I didn't know about all that, and I think it was again my guides making me stumble across the book of this woman, reading her story, seeing her picture, and with the red hair, that Irish trait was so obvious. And they have all the legends of the elemental beings, but these elementals, they don't only live in Ireland or England. Only they kept the knowledge.
Mhm.
But I met them here in Germany. I saw them in Brazil. So they're everywhere because they are of another dimension, not of a country.
So you can ask for their help in
Of course.
case of any problem, whether you want to know what's the problem with a certain body, with a certain person. They can
You
come
can.
and they can make a scan and tell you what's the problem with that person. Yeah.
They can see that because they're from another dimension and they know exactly about all this. But, in the fairy tales of the British Isles, there is a lot of kind of bad talk about the elves. So many people have kind of a negative expectation they project upon the Fae, and they think they are bad and negative, and they kind of play tricks with you. Well, if you encounter a being and project these kinds of negative thoughts onto them, you create them to behave like that. If you come with a positive attitude, and I had no attitude at all because I wasn't sure, I didn't know, just this being appeared and it looked sweet and friendly and kind. And the energy I felt was kind, like childlike. So I just asked it, who are you and what do you have to do with this body? Can you help me? And it said, yes, I'm here to help. So if you come with an open mind like that, they are willing to help. If you come with a negative attitude, oh, Fae are distrustful and they play tricks on humans, they will answer the way you project onto them.
Uh,
Mhm.
is it important the way or the circumstances in which we are born? For example, sometimes there are traumatic births or cases of premature births. So does it have any influence in our lives?
It has a little bit of influence, but it is what the soul has chosen before to come with some difficulty, to be a premature or whatever, you know.
Coming back to the soul contract. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
But you can change your soul contract while going, while living. It's not a firm, fixed thing like future isn't firm. You can say, I don't want that anymore. And
Mhm.
then just turn around and don't give your energy any longer to what you don't want, but give it to what you want. Energy goes where the focus is.
Okay.
I got back this memory in the womb as a fetus where I suddenly became aware that my mother did not want me. So I felt rejected. And as a fetus, you cannot defend yourself. I wasn't angry with her because I knew she was pregnant all the time. To her, it was, oh my God, again. And she already lost 4 pregnancies. So no blame on her. But I recreated nearly my whole life until I understood it rejection, because that was the first pattern I experienced. And my soul chose that to overcome rejection and to accept myself. That's why I'm about self-love and self-acceptance, because that's the other pole, the contrary of rejection. So we set up as a soul exactly these traumatic circumstances for learn and growth.
Okay.
Although this to the human mind, this seems crazy. Why choose something like that? But it is like that.
Okay. Everything is planned, everything is determined beforehand, right? Okay. So
Not
interesting.
everything, not
Not
everything.
everything, but certain
You
things, right?
have your free will and you can change in every minute. Certain point for me, as I understand it up to now, is it's kind of the what is happening. That is kind of destined because your soul chose that before the incarnation. But the how do you deal with it? That's totally free will. I could have gone kicking and screaming, and I did that for years in my puberty. No one likes me. I'm always rejected. No one understands me. I'm not wanted. No one loves me. And you can stay there, and then the whole world, the whole experience, your whole life is kind of a mess
Mhm.
because you react like that and don't change. But you can also go about it and choose another behavior. Instead of kicking and screaming, you can say, okay, don't like it, but maybe let's see what we can do about it. What do I wish? What do I want? I want to have a fulfilled life. I want to have friends and I want to have kind of communion with them. So I understand now. I read about trauma, that was a traumatic experience in the womb, that I felt rejected by my mother, but I'm not judging her. So that's the first step I took because I felt kind of compassion for her, after the war. And well, I think my father was that kind of guy who had to look into the eye of death. So maybe he needed the love with his wife every night to reaffirm that he's still alive or whatever, to come back to life, have some body sensations. And she was kind of very fertile. She was pregnant all the time. We would have been 9 children. Poor woman with 9 children. Just the imagination of that from me today would drive me crazy. How to handle 9 children.
Mhm.
So, of course, she was sad losing some of the pregnancies, but well, I mean, with 9 children, she would have been totally overwhelmed. So it was all, although looking in the human perspective, not so wonderful, it was all good and exactly right for her and also for me. And
Mhm.
I overcame that traumatic thing with being rejected. And hopefully I really overcame it. And I recreated it for some time in my life, but now I know better. And now I have different relationships with people that don't reject me. And I think that's for me the proof that I have changed, and that's why the outside also changes. That's why I have different friendships now.
Mhm.
Still, I have here and there some bad experience because you will not grow without making mistakes. You learn the most when you make a mistake. When something bad happens, you stop. If everything is fine, well, you're rolling on like a rolling stone. Yeah. So what will ever happen there? We need, although I really don't like to say it, but we need some bad experience to become wise and to grow and to learn from that and become more aware of the choice. How do I want to deal with that? Meeting your neighbor, you can be friendly with him or not, or something in between. There are many possibilities. And even if he's not friendly with you, the neighbor, and he's looking at you angry or absent-minded, you can still say, "Have a nice day." That does not cost any more.
Mhm.
Makes you feel good, and maybe the other as well. And you never know what you are creating by smiling at a foreign person. Maybe that one was already walking the street with suicidal thoughts, thinking, "I don't want to live any longer." And somehow a person crosses his path, smiling at him. That might give that person hope again to live and carry on. You don't know what you create, so better try to be friendly and kind. That's making it so much easier for everyone.
That's so hard for so many people.
Seems to be. I know some of the old generation, already the mouth like that, and they were the whole time. Yes, they endured a lot during war and they had bad experiences, but it's a choice to stay grumpy.
Wondering why there are some children who remember past lives, and once they get to a certain age, they forget everything. Is there a purpose for that? What do you think?
Um, I don't know, but I have some ideas. Because children are much more open and not yet totally programmed like the grown-ups by society and teachers and all that is put into us. Because they are more open, they have much easier access to that, and they have some memories, even small ones, when they tell you things. Sometimes they say, "I want to become, a fire worker and fight against fire." They have been working like that in a last life, and in another life. So
Mhm.
they are telling the truth and they don't know what they are saying. To them, it's real. And the parents think it's something else. It's just an idea. But this goes away when you grow older. And it's kind of normal that a lot of children lose these easy access to other life memories or impressions from beyond the veil. But there is a saying in spiritual tradition, where the light has shone once, it will always return. So they can, because they had these memories, even if they forgot in their growing from teenage to 20 and so on, in these growing phases in the material world in their lives, they can always go back there. It can come back to them and easily because they already had it. And now with this special times we live in, there are other waves of souls incarnating here as children. You heard of the indigo children, you heard of the crystal children. Some of them, they come totally open. They
Mhm.
don't have just snippets of memory. They know their mission already, not like us. We are trying to find out, and they stick with that. They don't forget because the frequency is already higher. And proof of that I got in the QHHT therapies in hypnosis sessions as a practitioner. When I started 5 or 6 years ago, my first clients came from under the hypnosis and I asked them, "What do you remember?" That was one of Dolores Cannon's questions to be asked. And they said, "I have no idea." And they fell off the chair when they listened to their own audio tape of the session. And they called me back. "Did this come really out of my mouth and you recorded it?" I mean, I cannot manipulate the audio recording to let them say something. So it was there, and they had no idea. But now, the clients I have now, when they come back and I ask, what do you remember? And they're not psychic, they're not in training, they did not train mediumship like me, they're not sensitives, all like you or some others. They say, oh, I think I remember quite everything. You know, that scene was a bit weird, but yes, I remember. That shows to me as firm proof that the whole collective consciousness of humanity has risen because they remember.
Mhm.
So there is a lot of things raising in consciousness happening without us noticing that so much. But I have this wonderful kind of tool, the QHHT, where I can see what's changing over the years. And it's getting faster and faster and faster. And I even had some very weird experiences, but weird positive, you know. There was this one thing, I was driving to a client because I have no room for QHHT, so I go and visit the people at home if they do not live too far away from me. And I was driving towards this QHHT session with a woman. And while I was driving, I had these images come in, and they were clearly showing that I was touching her in her third eye and her crown chakra, like I was touched by the sheikh of the Sufi monastery at the Bosnian pyramids. And when I had these images, I thought by myself, no, I cannot do that. That's interfering with free will, and I cannot touch a person during the hypnosis session. That's a no-go for me. Although there are some other QHHT practitioners who put online videos where they do things like that, but they inform their client, I'm now touching you, or I'm putting a crystal like a rose quartz
Mhm.
onto your chest area to the heart right now. Alba Weinman does that. Informing is okay, and she's helping because rose quartz can help open the heart. That's the rosy color, very soft color, not the bright right of a heart that we put onto a Valentine's card. It's the soft rosy that helps soft opening and, soft working with the heart energy. But I thought for myself, no, I cannot touch her. You know what happened? At the end of the session, a guide from this woman came through, and he appeared. I could see him, and he talked to me directly through her. He said, I am so and so. I'm her Syrian guide. Please do like we showed you on the drive to here. Touch her in these places. That's the initiation you are meant to give her. Please do it, although you thought it's wrong. And I thought, oh my God. And even addressed me, Gabrielle, please do it. And I was sitting there and thinking, whoa, what's happening? And of course I did it because it felt
That's
right and it came with force. And I saw that guide and they addressed me directly. That had never happened before.
wow.
So if that is not a clear sign, then I don't know what it is, because I'm not the person that's kind of, you know, bragging with the ego and doing things that I check onto myself 3, 4 times whether something is right, and I ask back to my guides. So I try not to do things some other people do out of the wrong motive or intention, who are following more their ego than the guidance of their guides or spirit world. So if I'm addressed like that, then I know it's serious, not the planet serious, but taking it seriously. That's a funny word game, and they have a strange sense of humor sometimes. This word game with planet serious and taking something seriously. They did that already several times with me. Yeah, but that was an experience. I didn't know, you cannot plan that. I had no idea. And in the here and now moment, I thought, okay, if you ask me for to do that, then I'm doing it. Because before in the car, thinking in my head, already seeing me doing that, I thought, no, that's wrong. I'm not allowed to touch a client via my fingers during a hypnosis session. Yeah, that was the thought form of that moment. But 3 hours later, it already changed, and they even came and asked me to do it. And later, after she came from out of the hypnosis, she said, wow, I felt it, and it felt so good. I felt the light streaming through and kind of clearing the channel from third eye to crown chakra. So thank you. Thank you that you followed the input and did that.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that was amazing.
It is still for me as an experience, but I get these snippets here and there, and I'm so happy that they guide me the right way because I couldn't figure out, and I would go astray here and there still because I'm human. I don't understand and get everything, but at least I'm open and I'm willing to listen, and that's all they need.
Mm-hmm.
If you're closed, they cannot reach you.
And they know how to get noticed, for sure.
Yes, they know. Luckily, they know us humans better than we know ourselves, and they never gave up on us because they know we are meant to shine our lights, and we will, and we already do, and all will turn out well and good. Ooh,
Thank you so much, Gabriel. This has been so insightful and enriching. It's so clarifying on so many things. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences.
it's my pleasure because if you don't ask me for that, I'm sitting with snippets of all of this here and there, and I cannot bring it together like that. So it's also a wonderful experience for me, and I'm happy if I can help and share.
Thank you.
Ditto, vice versa. I thank you. And we wish all the viewers who will see that blessings, love, and light onto their soul path. Listen to your guides, listen to the nudges. If I would not have listened to my nudges, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't do what I do. And at least some of you are touched by that. So I hope I'm doing the right and a good thing. And I wish the same for everybody that he can feel the touch of the divine in his heart and or her heart and follow that. It can only lead you to a better place.